Hello my friends, so I welcome you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator to today's session. And in today's session, I have channeled Metatron magnetic consciousness in order to find the answer to the queries which pertains to how to exit the karma cycle and become capable of entering the fourth density, okay? So this is actually a very important thing. And the other thing that I asked about was, how can we know when we have ascended into the fourth density? So this was one of the questions which I received in large number on my email. People wanting to know how they will find out when they have ascended into the fourth density. So this actually has a lot of information which you can compare with your own experience you are having in this lifetime, and then based on whether you resonate with the information, you can then try to achieve those types of things which will happen after you have ascended into the fourth density. Because Metatron has explained it very clearly, the types of experiences we will have when we ascend into the fourth density. Okay, so this is very important. And the other thing that is covered is about the message for July 28th. Actually, on the July 28th, there is going to be new moon coming on for us, and Metatron said it's a wonderful opportunity, and there is some very positive news for us, for those who want to shift into a higher level of consciousness. So we can use this opportunity to apply the teachings which have been covered in the session. Furthermore, Metatron also talks about something known as a crystallized entity. Okay, so what is a crystallized entity is covered in the session, and how can you become that is also covered in the session. So after the session, I will give you an explanation of what I understand, and also I will show you a wonderful gift which was sent to me recently towards the end of the video. And before the session begins, I just need to say thank you to all of you for liking the video, as it helps to reach out to people who need it at this time. So here is the session, my friends. Enjoy it.
I am Metatron now communicating, and I shall state my thought forms using this instruments vibration for the purpose of transmitting the thought forms to the divine love childs of the earth planet who require assistance at this time, and the information I am here to share today may be considered as a stepping stone in the realization of the universal divine grid programmer which lies dormant within each being in the earth planet. I, as Metatron, have been given the permission to relay this information. However, there is a need for your discernment to be maintained when you uncover the secrets of your own true self, and when you begin to recognize the value of yourself as the universal divine grid programmer resides within each one of you. You will find yourself opening up to the knowledge and the types of realization which shall follow, with an upgradation not only of your consciousness, but also of the overcoming of your limitations within the bodily complex. I am now going to address the queries which are found localized inside the mind of the divine love child of this channel. The first query, which relates with how can entities upon the earth planet realize that they have already achieved a fourth density vibration and ascended. In this regard, I would like to share the thought forms and the realizations which follow upon such an ascension, which is an integral part and parcel of the experience of each entity in this reality of third density, wherein there is a perceivable separation found when the interaction between different entities occurs. This perceivable separation is primarily present because of the activities of the blue ray and the indigo ray energy centers within the self, which have become imbalanced, which means that the perceptions are defined by another sub-entity within the self, which is a fictional entity known as the ego mind, which creates distortions in the experience of the one universal divine grid consciousness by creating thought forms using the words and languages and the images of your planetary sphere. These energy centers are the primary factors which determine whether an entity becomes crystallized or not, and also are a gateway or a signal of ascending into the fourth density vibration. Because an entity who has already entered into the fourth density vibration of the love and compassion vibration will slowly and steadily inculcate and have a desire to balance the blue ray and the indigo ray energy centers. This is a desire or a commingling of the energy centers with a movement towards the one infinite creator or the one universal divine grid programmer. This type of desire emerges as a nature of naturality of consciousness experience in different realities, as all are trying to move upwards towards the merger with the one universal divine grid programmer. I, as Metatron, would like to state that there are certain signs which follow ascension, and complete ascension into the fourth density consciousness of love and compassion will lead the entity to realize that all are one, and such realizations may seem to be appearing because the realization that it is the one universal divine grid programmer incarnated in a physical vehicle, and the same is true for the other selves which have incarnated in different physical vehicles. However, the separation is only created because of third density labels, words and images attached to the pure consciousness of the one universal divine grid programmer. This realization is a signal of ascension, and it cannot be described using the words of your vibratory planetary system. However, this realization comes as a envelopment of love for all beings and all situations and things, as the realization that all being is the same universal divine grid programmer leads to the expansion of love for all beings, even though they may be in different physical vehicles. This means that there will be a level of love for even the second density animal and pet life forms, which lead to an ever expansion and inflow of energies. The other portion of the signal which can be spotted is a lack of desire to attach oneself with the realities of the third density illusion complex of the Earth planet, primarily those involving the situations of the societal complex, such as the accumulation of the so-called numbers, as known by a people as the monetary system. Shall we say, from our angelic realm, it appears to be a type of distortion which is required for a third density being to pursue the purpose of fulfillment of the outset set out by the societal human collective consciousness, and once an entity achieves a fourth density vibration, such desires shall not be a part and parcel of a entity of fourth density, who has already understood the unity of the Creator and there is love for all beings as the Self. The other portion of realization emerges from the lack of attraction for the opposite portions of the physical vehicle, as referred to in your planetary system. The entity who occupies the fourth density vibration of Ascension shall find itself realizing that all is the one, and therefore there will be no need for any attraction in terms of the physical vehicle systems. For such an entity, the art of the so-called attraction of the opposite sex as well as the creation of offsprings may appear to be a process of creating physical vehicles for the purpose of the Self as the universal divine grid programmer to incarnate in such physical vehicles for the purpose of experiencing new realities. Such a realization shall be found upon the entities who accomplish ascension in this reality which is always at hand. The other portion of the query relates with the July 28 moon cycle. I, as METATRON, must state that this is extremely positive news for the Earth planet, for we as the angelic beings have decided to send the opportunity for those entities who desire to become adepts in the positive vibration to do so in this timeline. In the days that will follow, closer and closer to the moon cycle completion on July 28th, there will be entities who desire to achieve crystallization and become a crystallized being of light. We can already sense that there are many beings who desire such crystallization, and such a crystallization can be accomplished by a simple process, firstly of overcoming the mind complex activities and the imbalances in the blue-ray energy center, which primarily appear in the throat area in the form of words which are actively used by the ego mind for entrapment of such an entity in the illusion reality. And the other type of imbalance which is found is that of the indigo ray energy center or the pineal gland, which creates imbalances by using images. Both of these energy centers, if balanced during that period, by using exercises which may be considered for the purpose of training your consciousness. Each entity can choose 2 points within the bodily complex. For example, one portion of the leg and the other portion of the leg. This may be considered as an example as the entity who desires to practice this aspect can use movement, and it can move a finger and focus its consciousness upon it, and then move the other finger by focusing consciousness upon it, and simultaneously giving attention to the movement of each finger. This will lead to a creation of distortion or silence within the self, which will allow the realization of the one universal divine grid programmer to enter into the in-streaming energies of each entity. This will be facilitated in the time period of July 28, and those who require and desire to achieve crystallization can do so and achieve it in that timeline, leading to a creation of an expansion in the vibratory systems of the planetary sphere. Therefore, we can sense that there may be many entities in that time period achieving graduation. And I, as METATRON, must state that this is an excellent opportunity for the people of your planet to realize the union with the Universal Divine Grid Programmer. And I disconnect now until we meet again. Turn to the mountain of light within yourself. Bye.
So after watching the session, my friends, I hope you have understood certain things, and basically the things that have been covered in this session included that a very wonderful opportunity we have. Okay, it's a very good news for all of us that we are about to shift. And if we do the exercise as mentioned by Metatron on the 28th of July, we will have this ability to become a crystallized entity, and this is amazing. Okay, so the exercise Metatron gave is very simple. It is actually similar to the consciousness training exercise which was given in an earlier session by Metatron. So this time Metatron said what we need to do is we need to balance our energy centers, and then to become a crystallized entity or an adept, what we need to do is we need to balance our blue ray, which is the throat energy center, and the indigo, which is the pineal gland. So in the pineal gland we have pictures, in the blue ray we have thought forms, so we need to silence them so they become balanced and we can open the gateway to the creator. So this is what was said, okay, in the session as far as I understood. And the exercise is very simple. What Metatron said is to just choose 2 points in your body. For example, let me try it. I will choose my 2 fingers, okay? So what Metatron said is, firstly, to move this finger and give your consciousness to this finger, then move this finger, give your consciousness to this finger, and just keep on tracking the movements simultaneously. And as you keep on doing this, you realize that your mind will not have any, your thought forms cannot use any of your consciousness energy to consume it, okay, because every single thought form, every single image requires your awareness or consciousness to operate. So if you take your consciousness completely away from them and focus on 2 points completely, that way, my friends, you will be able to maintain the silence, and you'll become an adept or a crystallized entity, and it feels really good. I have been doing it, and it feels like very peaceful, like liberation of energy. It feels like, and also it feels like time gets longer, which is weird. Whenever there is self-talk, time gets really short, right? But when you do this exercise, when you focus on 2 points, when you give your 100% attention to both these points you are doing, time becomes longer. It's crazy, okay? And the other thing is, what they've said is the best way to exit the karma cycle is by changing our memory. That's what they said, and by the power of forgiveness. So we can forgive entities, and we can change the memory we have of a certain event, and then that way we will not have the negative energy stored, okay? So this is what was covered. And the other question is, how can we know when we have ascended into the 4th density, okay? So Metatron has given a certain signs to look out for. One of the signs is that you will realize that everyone is yourself incarnated in a different physical vehicle. So you will have the love for everyone, because you will realize that all the other persons are yourself experiencing this incarnation. With the realization that you're all things at the same time, the other sign you will face is that you lose the desire for any kind of attraction towards the opposite sex, okay? So because you have risen above the physical vehicle, you notice that this physical vehicle is just not you, but costume you're wearing. And when you realize that, you will lose any kind of interest or having the desire for the opposite sex, okay? So this is what is covered in the session. I hope you understood certain aspects about what was covered. And the other thing is, I need to say big thank you to the person who sent me this gift, which actually looks just like me. And this was done by Alanama, okay? So I will leave her Instagram details over here on the screen. You can follow her. It's amazing painting. I just need to say thank you, and I want to say thank you to all of you for sending me past life requests for channeling, where I channel your higher self to ask about your soul name, your soul purpose, and your past timelines, okay? And any other questions you may have, like guidance. Some people need guidance, I help them. you can send me an email over here. And the other thing is, I want to say a big thank you to all of you for joining my Patreon. Recently, I just did a live Q&A, and I'm planning to do a meditation on the 28th. So if you want to take part in it, please join. And the other thing is, I want to say a big thank you to all of you for downloading the free PDF available. You can read it. So thank you so much, my friends. Have a great day and see you in the next session. I hope you like these videos if you want to watch further.